Hello, I'm Locke Meredith. I'd like to invite you to join me on the next Legal Lines. We're fortunate to have Judge Chip Moore. He was recently elected to the 19th Judicial District Court. He's taken over the seat vacated by Judge Duke Welch when he moved up to the First Circuit. He's going to talk to us about what it's like to run for judge. He's moving to the criminal court, and he's going to talk about what he anticipates he will face there and how he might improve the system. So join us on the next Legal Lines with Judge Chip Moore. Hello, welcome to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith. And I'm pleased to have on the show today Judge Chip Moore. Judge Chip Moore ran for election here in the last month and won, and now heading up Division N of the 19th
That's
JDC.
right.
Judge, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been in Zachary all my life. I've been a prosecutor in Zachary, been practicing law. I'm married. I'll be married 18 years.
Congratulations.
Come this June.
Earlier. 3 kids.
3 wonderful children.
What are their ages?
Margot's my daughter. My only daughter's 13. And then I have 2 boys that both think they're going to be the next Nolan Ryan.
Love baseball.
They love baseball.
I saw you kind of headed up some kind of baseball.
I do, and my middle boy Mac he's 10, going to be 11, and my baby who's 8, he'll be 9 Christmas. So
keep you busy. Don't
they do. It's been a wonderful.
And as I understand it, your parents were medical doctors. Is that right?
My mother is Dr. Sheila Moore. She runs the St. Jude's Affiliate Clinic in Baton Rouge.
Great.
She retired previously to that from Earl K. Long. So she's been taking care of kids with serious medical problems for a long time.
God bless her for that.
And my daddy is still practicing. He's in internal medicine, got a specialty in internal medicine, and he does some emergency room work still to this day. He's kind of slowing down a little bit, but he still gets after it.
I got to tell you, doctors live a tough life.
They do. They really do.
Sacrificing life. Tell me, as I understand it too, your wife's dad was a lawyer?
Yeah, that's kind of what got me into the practice of law. Growing up with 2 physicians.
Kind of thought you'd be a doctor, huh?
Well, my brother and I were pushed in that direction. Not pushed, but kind of that's where we were influenced. We didn't have a lot of lawyers coming over for supper. And so I went to Nichols first, my first year after high school, and then after that transferred to LSU and went 2 years there in pre-med. And was taking an elective course in political science in Dr. Parent's class.
Wayne Parent.
And
wow.
was happened to be sitting next to a girl that I started dating, and that's now my wife. And in the course of that courtship, met her father, who was a very distinguished lawyer in Gulfport, Mississippi. Solo practitioner, but just a very good litigator. And got to go with him in the courtroom and said, "This is fantastic."
That's what you wanted to
and
do,
that's
huh?
That began my journey.
And so then, graduated from LSU, and I understand you graduated with top honors from law school.
I did. I graduated 6th in my class, but it was wonderful for me.
You just loved it, huh?
I did. It wasn't a challenge to me. It wasn't like I was having to get my teeth pulled. It was something that just really came natural to me, and I excelled in it. And after graduating law school, hung a shingle.
All right, let's talk about that. Let's talk about life after law school.
Well, when you get out of law school, you're not certain. You know a lot of law, but you don't know how to apply it.
We were talking about that. It's funny. They train you to think lawyerly, but as far as practicing,
I never took a business course, and I regret never have taken a business course in college. There ought to be some prerequisites that they make everyone that wants to go to law school take.
Well, actually, I'm encouraging my son Collins and Mitch to go business administration.
Absolutely.
If they want to do it, because you got to know.
You have to know, and so it's hard to learn it on the road. But I've done that, and it's been fun. But when started practicing law initially, Russell Bankston had a small office in Zachary. He'd been practicing law for 30 years, and he gave me a back little corner room.
So he was kind of your mentor?
Well, he didn't do anything in the courtroom. He did real estate successions. And I was always kind of looking to go in the courtroom, so I think that's why he decided it would be fine for me to be in his office, because we weren't going to see the same clients.
Gotcha.
And I stayed there for a couple years, and then back in those days, not that was a long time ago, but Zachary hadn't developed like it is today.
It's a really fast-growing city.
It really is. And so I went and built my office on this vacant piece of property, which at that time there was only a post office there, kind of down the road from Lane Memorial Hospital. Mm-hmm. And built my office and started practicing law. This is going on my 11th year in that location. Of course, now you can't even get out of my office lot. I mean, you have a Ryan's across the street, Wendy's next door, and
All
it's just
grown up.
it's so congested.
And
But
did a general civil practice.
general civil practice.
Did you do any bankruptcy?
I didn't. I didn't do any bankruptcy work. That was pretty much the only thing I did not do.
And so you would have handled, I guess, domestic litigation, which is divorce and family law.
When you work in a small community, and when you're trying to help people, they come to you one time for this, and they come to you back to you down the road for something else. And you
become their lawyer.
You are, and you build a rapport with these, with what you call your friends. They're not inclined. And so I've done. I guess that's why I've done so many different things, and it's been fun and exciting. I've gone to different courtrooms across the state, and I've really got to have a lot of experiences.
Had an array of experience
in the past 12 plus years.
And then, as you indicated, you were city prosecutor for Zachary. What does that entail?
John Womack came to me. Duke Welch was elected, and he was the city prosecutor. And when he was elected to the bench, there was an opening, obviously, and he came to me and asked me to be the prosecutor.
And Duke is now judge on the First Circuit.
Judge on the First Circuit. So basically, I've no prosecutorial experience 10 plus years ago.
Meaning that you're going after the guys who have committed the crimes, misdemeanors in this
misdemeanors
case,
first,
but they've still broken the law,
right?
And so you're the prosecutor acting on behalf of the government.
Correct. You're prosecuting the laws on behalf of the city of Zachary. In this case, ordinances. And you're going to do traffic. You prosecute first and second offense DWIs. You prosecute theft of goods and simple possession of marijuana. Anything that's classified as a misdemeanor under our laws.
Which is defined as what?
Anything that the imprisonment is less than 6 months or less, or a fine up to $1,000 or less. So that's an and/or. So anything that exceeds that becomes what's called either a relative felony or a felony. And so I don't have jurisdiction on those matters. Those matters will be transferred to Doug Morrow's office.
But as a city prosecutor, you would prosecute the alleged criminals and present the evidence, try it in front of a judge, and the whole bit.
This election, we were starting to do some research just to see how many cases that I've handled in the last 10 plus years. And it was, I talked to Sharon Hopkins, who's a chief law clerk for the city of Zachary, and it was over 18,000 cases.
Jeez,
I didn't realize that. But
that must just be piling them in like a herd of cattle.
It really got so busy. It's getting busier because Zachary's growing. There are more people moving into Zachary. Obviously, the Zachary Walmart created a kind of a, when the big giant store opened its doors, you had a lot of folks coming in, and you had the theft charges went up. I mean, there's a concomitant reaction to that. Was when you have growth, you always get some part of the worst of a bad element that you don't want to have, but it's there and it exists.
And you got busy.
And we all got busy. So.
And then also as a magistrate, you worked. Now, what is that?
Well, 4 years ago, the town of Slaughter, Burton Guidry was their town attorney, and he, of course, got named as the assistant attorney general, and under then Richard Ayub, and now he's still.
I've had Richard on the show.
And so the mayor then came to me and asked me if I was interested in the job. At that point, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And anyway, the mayor eventually appointed me magistrate judge to hear misdemeanor offenses as a judge in that court.
And so you acted as the magistrate for 4 years.
Correct.
All right, let's talk about on the next segment running for judge and what's that like.
That's right.
This is Locke Meredith with Judge Chip Moore, and we'll be right back. Hello, I'm Locke Meredith. I'd like to invite you to join me on the next Legal Lines. We're fortunate to have Judge Chip Moore. He was recently elected to the 19th Judicial District Court. He's taken over the seat vacated by Judge Duke Welch when he moved up to the First Circuit. He's going to talk to us about what it's like to run for judge. He's moving to the... Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith, and have on the show today Judge Chip Moore. He was recently elected to Division N of the 19th JDC. Again, Judge, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, thank you, Locke.
We were talking about your stint as a magistrate. What specifically were the duties as a magistrate?
Well, the judge, the mayor there was not a lawyer, and like as many mayor courts.
Right.
And so she asked me to step in. She didn't feel comfortable listening and making decisions.
And so you acted like the judge?
So I was the judge.
And that was it? It was just smaller stuff?
Smaller issues, that's correct.
Well, let's talk about running for judge. I've had a good number of folks on here. Tony Marabello talked about the process. What's it like to run for judge?
It's a marathon. and I can say that because I've ran one. But it's just an endurance race, and you start and you have to keep going. And
how did you decide that it's time to run for judge?
Well, I guess 3 or 4 years ago, I was talking to my wife, and I've had, like I told you earlier, I've had a lot of opportunities to be in different courtrooms and to really watch judges and see what they do and their personalities. And I told my wife, I said, I think I have a great personality that I know I could be a terrific judge. I can show compassion, but at the same time, I'm not going to humiliate or embarrass people in the courtroom and treat them like they need to be treated, like I'd want to be treated. And I've been in other
rule, huh?
Right, and I've been in other courtrooms where that really didn't happen. Sometimes that's far and few between, but it does happen. And so I made a decision. My wife and I both made a decision.
That's not the kind of decision you do.
You don't make
by
those.
yourself,
You don't. And I decided that I wanted to put my hat in this race and make a commitment to run. I didn't want to be 70 years old, wake up one day wondering what if. And so I did it. I started a year and a half ago.
So did you know prior to a year and a half ago that running for judge was something you wanted to do, or was it just something?
I knew it was something I wanted to do. I wasn't certain what would happen with Judge Welch. He had to be elected to the First Circuit Court of Appeals, so you didn't know what was going to happen in August of last year. But pretty much when he was elected, August, I had everything. I was going the next day running for judge.
Did you, in advance, in the anticipation of Duke winning a seat on the First Circuit, did you start inquiring of folks that you knew whether or not they would support you, or they thought it was a good idea, or did you wait until after Duke won?
I did some of that. People that my friends, people that I've grown up with in Zachary, people that I know, trying to figure out where this district is and all the places it encompasses. Mm-hmm. And it's a huge part of East Baton Rouge Parish.
The population is in
the district
is large.
And so, yes, I started getting some groundwork kind of put in place and figuring out what kind of groundwork I needed.
So once you decided to run, then I guess it's kind of knock down the doors, here we come.
Right. You run. I mean, it
doesn't
really matter what.
Do you just go shake a bunch of hands, put out flyers, signs? What do you do?
I think initially you just want to. People in Zachary knew me. Some people in Baker knew me, but really I didn't have a lot of name recognition or exposure in Central. Didn't grow up in Central, and there are a lot of people have come in and migrated to Central in the last few years. So I tried to build and meet as many people as I can and let them know about Chip Moore.
And how do you do that?
You go to gatherings. I'd look in the paper. I'd find any gathering that was getting ready to happen, whether it be I'm thinking of St. Aloysius when I handed out catfish dinners during Lent, or whatever it would be, riding in the parades for Christmas in all Zachary, Central, and Baker.
So it's get out there.
Get out there, let the people know.
I saw you had a website, too.
My brother created that for me towards the end of the campaign, but that wasn't a big focus of mine, of the website. My big focus was just saying, this is who I am. I'd like to meet you, let you know about me.
Now, it costs money to run.
It does.
I know you guys aren't directly involved in the process, but I guess the word goes out, I need money, and you hope folks help.
Well, you try to get people that are supporting you come together and try to raise you money. I can't, the judicial canons prohibit me from going out and soliciting directly or indirectly any funds.
And there's a good reason. Nobody wants to think the judge can be bought.
That's correct.
And so, going to be politically motivated to rule one way or the other.
That's right. And so I understand the reason, the rationale. I think it's important. I adhere to that. But when you decide to run for judge, Locke, my feeling is that you don't look around for money. You say it's coming out of my pocket, and that's how my focus was from the very beginning.
That you were going to pay for it.
I was going to pay for it.
And then you ran. It was a close race.
Very close race.
Your opponent was Bill Downing, and I think you won by 400 votes.
Well, 300 and something, 360 votes.
And I think the turnout was 6,000 to 7,000 folks.
No, it was right around 15,000 plus. Very low turnout. I think Zachary was 20%. I think Sherwood Broadmoor was maybe 25%. Baker was 5%. Central was 15%.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It just wasn't.
The apathy.
Just wasn't on a lot of people's radar. I think that Saturday was just too pretty. It was just a gorgeous, perfect, the first really great spring day that we'd had.
Right.
And so I think a lot of people went fishing.
And bottom line is, you got elected.
I did.
Ran a great campaign. How does the campaign process work in terms of, well, you've been elected now, and as I understand it, Mary Joseph has been appointed by the Supreme Court as ad hoc. I read that she was indicating that she was stepping down as of April 30th, but you told me that you're actually moving in sooner.
Well, Judge Joseph's indicated that if we could get everything in a row and get organized, she would step down sooner than that. Judge Johnson has indicated that he would like, I think he's next in line, and under the district court system that they've had for years, they kind of rotate from the criminal section to the civil section based on seniority.
And Judge Johnson's been at the criminal, or handling criminal matters for the most part for several years.
Well, the judges that are above him have elected to stay in the criminal court system. And so it's kind of rotated down to him, and he's indicated that he will go and serve in the civil capacity under in Judge Joseph's courtroom.
So let's describe for the folks the difference between what we're talking about. We're talking about the civil bench, or trying civil cases, versus criminal.
Right.
Judge Johnson had been trying criminal matters, and has decided based on seniority and the fact that other folks didn't want to move from the criminal bench to the civil bench and try civil cases. So you're going to be trying criminal cases.
Correct.
All right.
And it's just, he's indicated that he's going to be going to her courtroom not this Friday, but next Friday. And so I plan on trying to figure out what I have to do next Friday.
And of course, you had, I guess, the option, if you wanted to possibly go to the civil bench. I know Judge Wilson Fields did that, said he was going to do both criminal and civil, but you decided to go ahead and stay in the criminal.
Locke, I've looked at it, and initially my feeling was, when you look around at other courtrooms across the state, like East and West Feliciana, the judges handle both, but you have such a number of cases. So the caseload that's filed, just because the state capital in Baton Rouge, East Baton Rouge Parish, there's just too many for you to say I'm going to do both and do it effectively.
Well, let's talk about how you're going to handle the criminal bench on our next segment. This is Locke Meredith with Judge Chip Moore. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Locke Meredith. I'd like to invite you to join me on the next Legal Lines. We're fortunate to have Judge Chip Moore. He was recently elected to the 19th Judicial District Court. He's taken over the seat vacated by Judge Duke Welch when he moved up to the First Circuit. He's going to talk to us about what it's like to run for judge. He's moving to the... Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith. I'm very pleased to have on the show today Judge Chip Moore. He was recently elected to the 19th Judicial District Court, and it's cranking up in a couple of weeks.
It is.
Judge, again, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
We were talking about, basically, you're taking over the criminal bench of Judge Johnson within the next couple of weeks.
Correct.
And let's talk about what you're going to do on the bench, what you see as being the problems that you face or the issues that you're going to face, and kind of what's a day in the life.
Well, I think the first thing is for me to get my handle on Judge Johnson's docket.
Do you have a clue how many folks?
Well, he's sent some information. He's going to take with him to the civil bench the things that are the cases that are under appeal, the cases that he has still yet to sentence. So there'll be my docket should be pretty much people that are there for arraignment.
So the beginning of the process.
Right. And so that won't be that's the best way to pick up. That's the best way to pick it up. And so I'll just try to figure out how big the docket is that I can expect, and figure out the best way to manage that docket. Some things that I've had in my mind were, as a criminal defense attorney going downtown, you get there, everybody has to get there at 9 o'clock in the morning. And if you know that your matter is going to trial, why do I need to wait at the courthouse till 1? Why not just say get there at 1?
Not real practical.
And the parking's always going to be a problem there. And so I'm going to look at ways that I can make the courthouse or my courtroom more compatible for people. And whether it's a criminal offense or a state trooper that's coming to testify, it just seems to me to make a lot more sense to try to put things throughout the day rather than all one time at 9 o'clock. And figure out, but I have to learn that. I have to learn if it's even feasible to do that.
Well, let's talk about the learning process. Nobody's trained to be a judge when they first get in there. You've been trained in the criminal component of all this, being a city prosecutor, but that doesn't train you to be a judge. You've watched judges. So how does one go about becoming a good judge?
Well, I think you go to, there's some courses that are offered that I'm planning on attending. The Louisiana Supreme Court offers a program for newly elected judges that I will attend. And there are also some courses across the country which have helped other judges in our jurisdiction, and they've told me or indicated to me that it would be something that it would be wise for me to attend. So I plan on going to learn as much as I can.
And I think you mentioned that Judge Johnson has made himself available to you to give advice, and I'm sure all the other judges up there.
They will. And so if you have, I mean, I'm going to be on the same floor with judges that I've had matters in front of for the last 12 plus years. So, you know, they're going to, if I have a question, I know I can go and ask them procedurally what they think or how they handle it. And you have a law clerk that will help you with doing, you know, researching the law.
And I think you mentioned that as a judge coming in, you choose your law clerk and your principal secretary, and of course you have other staff personnel.
Right, and that's the court administrator handles those positions and those selections, but I do have my own law clerk and my own secretary.
And so take me through, based on your understanding, kind of a day in the life, what you expect will be a typical day for you as being a criminal court judge.
I think my typical day to start off is I know I want to get to court early and figure out, just to learn my docket, my
and again, the docket is the number of cases come in front of you.
Who's there, and try to figure out how I can best serve the people with this docket, rather than have everybody there at 9. It may not be I can do anything about it, but I'm going to try.
So you get there bright
and early. Get there early. Make some coffee. Start working. You know, and be prepared when I take the bench.
How are you prepared? Are you going to rely primarily on your law clerk, or are you going to meet with him? Are you going to try and read it? Because it doesn't seem feasible. I know Judge Kuhn was in here talking about the appellate courts and how they're able to spend a minute amount of time on each individual appellate court case, and I've got to imagine it's the same thing for your criminal doc, so you got to use your staff like crazy.
Well, I think it's different in a district court setting than in the appellate court where Judge Kuhn is, but I think, you know, some decisions you have to make. I mean, if it's a trial and it's a bench trial, you just have to make the decision. I don't think it's good to take matters under advisement. I think it's something that if it's a close question in your head, you have your notes, you go back in the chambers, you think about it, and you make a decision that day. You don't. I think the longer we go and we sit on it, the harder it becomes. But you just make that decision.
So you don't plan on too many under advisements.
Of course, I'm not there yet,
right.
Locke, but my plan is to make a decision and stick by that decision based on the evidence that was presented.
Now, you're going to be handling stuff that aren't really necessarily horribly serious consequences to murder trials.
Things that are very serious.
How do you prepare for that?
You follow the law. I mean, as a judge, I have to follow the law. You apply the facts to the law. And death cases are usually a jury trial.
Right.
And you listen to the pool and you listen to the jury.
To make sure that what they hear is the right stuff to hear.
Make sure that they heard the right evidence and rule on the evidence issues that come before the trial. But my commitment is to follow the law and to do so as fairly and as equitably as I possibly can.
I was reading some of the articles about when you were running, and you talked about, and you've said it here today, that you want to be compassionate, but you're going to maintain control of the courtroom, and you want it to be respected. How do you plan on doing that?
Well, Locke, I've said it before in this campaign, and I've said it because it's the truth. Judge Klein in the 20th Judicial District Court before he retired was, in my mind, one of the best judges I practiced before.
And why is that?
Well, and he, you know, of course, the judges in the East and West Feliciana, they hear both, but he would have people shake his hand after he sentenced them to life in prison. He treated them, he followed the law, he applied the law like it was supposed to be applied, but he still treated that person like a person. He treated them with humanity, with dignity, with compassion. That's what I want to try to do. I want to try to emulate what Judge Klein did. I know people are different people. I'm different than Judge Klein. It's a different situation in East Baton Rouge Parish, but that's my goal. I'd love to. He just did a fine job of handling people.
So that doesn't mean you're going to be soft on them, but you're going to treat them with dignity.
I guess the best example would be my grandfather. My grandfather grew up in Clinton. He didn't have to say much for me to know what I needed to do. If he said, and he never had to raise his voice. But he could say something to you, look you in the eyes, you knew what you needed to do, and there wasn't any question that it had to be done. That's the kind of understanding. I'm saying not losing your temper, your control, keeping respect for the court, keeping dignity for the court, but by the same time having everybody understand that you're going to treat them, like I said earlier, the way that I want to be treated.
And you're not
demand no less.
And you're not talking about just the folks that are in front of you, but the lawyers who deal with you and the staff and everyone.
Correct. And that has to be, to me, that's the best way. It needs to be that way.
I agree with you. In all the benches. I know one of the issues is the overcrowding of the jails, and Judge Downing has talked about creative ways to deal with that when he was on the bench. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, it is a problem. I mean, that and the indigent defender system is a problem in our state. I don't know what the solution is going to be to that problem in the short term. I think long term we're going to have to look at building more prisons. As people don't like to talk about that, but it's a reality.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll get you on the next show, and let's talk about, once you've gotten on the bench and been there a while, what do you see as issues that we need to address as a group of folks?
Thank you,
trying to solve it. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely.
This is Locke Meredith with Judge Chip Moore. Thank you for being with us.